this section. All right, so welcome again, guys. This is leadership and ethics for, wow, we have somebody coming in. Who's this? Rommel. Welcome back, Rommel. All right, so I'm sharing my screen here. I'm hoping you can see what's going on here. So I did, in the initial email I sent out on Saturday or Sunday, I did ask you all to download this document, which kind of details a lot about what we're looking at for the semester. Were you all able to do that? Yes? No?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So first off, let's have a look at the e-classroom so that we know what this space looks like. So this is what it looks like here. Let me make it a little larger for you guys, so you can see what's going on. So you'd notice that the course is divided into a couple of sections or areas. So let's kind of go through this so we kind of familiar with what we're looking at. This is what you all see when you all went in. Yes? No?
Yes,
Maybe?
sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. And as of today, everybody should be registered for the class or have access to it. Is anybody still having problems getting in? No? All right. So under the general resources, we have first off two textbooks here. You need to download both of these. These are the textbooks that we are going to be utilizing for the course itself. The course outline, you could also download that as well to get an idea of what's going on. But the more critical one to download is actually this one here, course schedule with assignment details. That gives us a lot more details as to what we're going to be doing, and we have to work on this today. The personality test questionnaire, the interpretation, the concept map, these are tools that are left here for you guys to utilize for some self-assessment that has to go on. Okay. Then we have the link to the online class. Okay, and as of next week, I'll shift the start time to 5:30 to give those people from work an opportunity to get in and get settled before we join the class, as well as this is the link for the WhatsApp chat group here, so you can click on this and um, join the group. Hopefully all of you all are doing that. That way I could speed up communications with you. Like, if something happens on my end or your end, you can let me know quickly in the chat, either privately or within the group itself. Because my phone number is attached to this, so you could also contact me there for various bits and pieces of information. Now, we have some presentations of different chapters, chapter 1, 2, and 3, and then class recordings that, like, for example, the recording that's happening today now will be placed in this section here. And of course, that will only come up after we finish, then the recording will come up. Then we have an assignment submission section where we have the 4 different assignments that you're expected to get involved with to submit, and you'd notice the due dates are already identified in them. Then we have a debate activity that is one of the other assessment pieces that we're going to be looking at, and we have the information here. We have a lot more to discuss and prepare for this, but you'll also see that the date for the debate has already been identified as the 26th of November. And for those of you who are familiar with the academic calendar, this is the last teaching week of the school, because the college stops teaching by the 1st of December. All right. And then we have this last section here will be populated by recordings of the student presentations that you will be making for the semester. All right. So it looks a little bit sparse right now, but by the time we finish the course, there's going to be a lot more videos and links inside here for us, and there's a reason for it. There's a pattern to the madness. So hopefully you'd um, see what's going on in terms of this, all right, as we start to understand and develop the classroom space. Okay, so that's the nature of this here. So the textbooks, for example, these are the two textbooks that you're going to be. This is one of the key ones, the Exploring Leadership text. This is what it's going to look like in the PDF document by Comives, Lucas, and McMahon. This Exploring Leadership text, we're going to be tackling a lot of chapters out of it. And we have a second text in which we are going to be looking at this edition, the Leadership Experience Daft. We're going to be looking at about 6 chapters out of this, five to 6 chapters out of this textbook. And that detail, or those details, would be contained in this document here, which is the course outline with dates. So as you can see here, all the information for contacting me, including my mobile number, my email addresses. These are for communication in the event that something goes on, because your assignments are to be submitted in the e-classroom spaces and stuff like that. Okay. So as you can see, I have already set up today's class as our introductory class, where all we're doing here is getting to know each other and setting up our planning for it. Then we have dates for various chapter presentations, and you'd notice that I am going to be taking responsibility for Unit 1 of the textbook, the Exploring Leadership text, which is, as I said, this one here. We're going to be looking at chapters 1 to 3. I will be leading you in this discussion here, and that should take us through the 10th, the 17th, and the 1st of October. And then from the 8th onwards, we will be, well, not we, but you will be taking over the presentations of the various chapters, and we'll discuss that for you. So let's look at specific instructions now in terms of those presentations. So the presentations is actually going to be your first assessment, and it's valued at 30% of your final grade. So it's important that we get this right. And it's a misnomer to call it a chapter presentation. Really, what you're doing is, as a student in small groups, well, in this case here, there are 30 people in the class. So it means that there are 10 chapters to present. So therefore, there will be 10 groups of 3 people apiece. All right. You would be presenting the chapters to the rest of the class. In essence, what you're going to be doing, though, is you're going to be teaching the class the content from your chapter. Now, the expectation is that students would read the chapter so that when the presentation goes on, they'll be able to engage in some sort of discussion, and you can include them in that type of stuff. But most times you're going to have to lead the way as the key presenters for the chapter. So in essence, each of you will get an opportunity to teach a chapter to the class. All right, and I'm going to be evaluating those chapter presentations in terms of, one, content coverage. So I expect that you don't leave anything out that is important. I'm going to be evaluating the type of explanations that you give by looking at the type of examples you utilize, and the more localized and relevant examples, because examples come from the text, yes, but if you can find or connect it with more personal examples and local examples, it would help to make it a little more clear, and that therefore speaks to the clarity of explanations. Of course, from your work, you're going to be drawing some recommendations, and of course, we expect that you use a conclusion at the end of your presentation, which is kind of normal with everything. All right, so that's the area of 60%. Then for 25%, I'm going to be looking at your style of delivery, which is, the methodology that you utilize in terms of style that grabs our attention. That also is going to be looking at the quality and degree of class interaction that you engage in, asking questions, eliciting responses from the class. We're going to be evaluating the presentation aid that you're going to be looking at. So more than likely, it's going to be some form of a PowerPoint that you're going to be sharing with the class and using it. But it's not only limited to So that you can also have little things like short videos that you could find on the internet, especially YouTube, to be able to illustrate some aspects of the chapter that you're engaging with and the points or concepts that they're trying to explain from that. Another thing that we're going to be looking at is your time management. Now, generally, the class is 3 hours long, so it means you have each group. If you remember from the presentation schedule, each each presentation day we have two presentations. So on the 8th of October, we have chapter 4 and chapter 5 being presented by two separate groups. So it means if we were in a 3 hour block, you have about an hour and a half to a maximum of up to an hour and a half to present your chapter or teach your chapter. So there are some codicils to that in the sense that some chapters are very dense and some chapters are not as dense. So some chapters may not take as much as, they might take half an hour to 45 minutes and you finish, and you should be finished presenting it. Whereas some chapters tend to be a little more dense and may need a little more than an hour and a half to go through all of the complex situations that you're going to find yourself dealing with. So especially when we get to the latter half of the the chapters, they tend to get a little more in depth, and therefore they may tend to require some more time. So the expectation is that you're going to manage your time well, and try to stay within that hour and a half limitation that you face. Um, the last aspect I'm going to be looking at is the use of citation. So although you are presenting, there is citation requirements for a presentation. So you're presenting something, you should be showing your sources either at the point of usage or at the end of your slides. You should have a page with your references and citations identified so that we'll be able to indicate, not just indicate, but acknowledge the sources of information that you've utilized to help develop your presentation. Now, the way this is done is that I will be marking you during the presentation, and after the class is finished, I will call upon each group to come back to the classroom and give you your breakdown and give you your scores. So you're going to get immediate feedback after you've presented your chapters, and that way you'll know exactly where you stand in terms of the presentation that you've just given to the class. So that you're not going to have to wait very long to get some feedback on your presentations. So, any questions on this so far?
No, sir.
No,
All right,
sir.
all right. I've explained that fairly well. All right. Okay, so let's look at the what is called assignment 2, which is really the debates, and this is a debate activity in which we are going to split the class into three different groups, and we are going to choose as a group, as a class, two topics from the three to debate. The three teams will be set up as one who will argue for, those who will argue against, and the third group will be the mediators. Each group will be made up of 10 people. And of the 10, they will then subdivide into the two different topics, with the exception of the mediators who can stay as one form, but they can, basically trade different what we call rules of in the debate sequence. We will be getting into a lot more details of this because we'll have some sessions and doing debate preparations for that. And again, you get to choose where you're going. The most important element of this assessment too is that the marking of this assignment or this activity is done by you guys, not me. So the first two assignments should tell you one time that I'm giving you an opportunity, in one instance, to teach, which means you're getting leadership opportunities here. And in the second here, again, you're getting leadership opportunities, but it's coupled with ethical overtones. Because it'll be nice and easy for you to just award each other, good points and good scores, but you have to justify why you're giving somebody a score. So this is going to call upon some ethical decision making and ethical choices that you're going to be making. So again, this is a course in which we're going to put into practice a lot of the things that we're going to be covering in the class. Any questions on that? Well, as I said, the debate, we'll have to go into a lot more detail, but when we finish with some of the content, we will then tackle this element and preparation. Make sense so far? Yes? No? Maybe?
Yes, sir.
All right. Third assessment, 20 for 20 marks. This is a midterm exercise. Now, it's classified as a midterm exercise, but it's really the form of three questions that kind of guide you into some reflections about the content that we're working in the class. So these are the questions here. They're going to be on different topics. So this will be in the I'll have to update this document in the e-classroom. So it's going to some of the questions are going to come from the area of discussion that we're going to engage with groups and teams. Another is going to be specific to a chapter from the main text, the Exploring Leadership text that deals with ethical leadership and its assumptions. And then from that same chapter, we will also be looking at ethical decision making and ethical decision making models here in terms of how this question is set up. So we'll go into more details with this when that comes up, but um, that is because it's a reflective exercise. It will start from the 15th of October and run till the 5th of November, which means the exercise becomes live during that period. And the reason why is because by the 15th of October, we would have already covered the chapters that are concerned. Chapters 4, 5, 6, and 7 would be where we would meet the content for it. So I want to open up the assessment from the week that we do the chapter to the end of where presentations are coming on the 5th of November, which is where all of our presentations should be finished by that time. This here is a reminder classes end on the 1st of December here, so that's what this is about. Um, so that the expectation is that you get done with this exercise and you submit it well before we get involved with our debate exercise, which is the 26th. Now, that then leaves two other exercises: the self-analysis and leadership and action plan, which you'd see the due dates are the 30th of December, and as you could probably tell, that'll be well after your exams are done because in December, from the 1st of December for the following 2 weeks, you have exams. For those of you who are doing other courses that feature a final examination, this is the general time frame in which it's done. Now, because this class sits heavily upon self reflection and self analysis, I am going to extend the deadline for submission of these two specific documents out into the period between, well, after semester ends, but before I have to mark and upload your grades, which is the 5th of January, which is why that is identified here. I have a deadline of the 5th of January, but I'm willing to give you all until the 30th of December to be able to sit down and finish writing these things. Now, and I'll explain a little bit in detail there in terms of what's happening here. So if we go to the self-assessment, that's a 20% assignment. This is about a self-analysis. This is what you're going to be kind of sitting back, and you can actually go ahead and start this from now, and reflect upon who you are and how you've arrived at the person you are today by engaging in some self-analysis of where you come from, how things in your life have influenced you, and how activities and people have transformed you and made you into the kind of person you are now. Now, this is one of the reasons why on the e-classroom I have these resources here for you to do a personality questionnaire or personality test and a learning styles inventory. So you have these two are online. This is one you can download and do, but You can do the personalities test. This link here, if you just click on it, it'll take you to the page, and you can engage in this. Yes, you're a human, and you get into this. Okay, yes, we know we're human. Okay, I might have a problem because I have a VPN running on this thing here. Verify you're a human. Yeah, it's seeing my VPN, so it's going to give me some problems. Hopefully, it doesn't give you. But you could just kind of type in 16 personalities on your main thing and go to it. All right. Um, that should give you a chance to do that personality test. The learning styles inventory tends to work fairly straightforward. This is VOC. Any of you all have ever done this test before? No?
No, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. So for those of you who have done it before, this is a very useful tool to determine what your learning preferences are. So this is it's a bit it speaks a lot a little bit about who you are and how you prefer to learn. So those are things that you can utilize. Now, if this personality test is giving problems, which it shouldn't, it ought not, um, you have a an actual questionnaire that's based upon one of the systems that you will meet in the textbook. For those of you who are going to be for the group that is going to be presenting a chapter. So now, if you look at the chapters, you recognize that a lot of the chapters um, sort of help you, with your analysis, self-analysis. So when I finish with the first part, Unit 1, chapters 1 to 3, we're going to start the elements of self-analysis here. So understanding self is a chapter that one group is going to deal with, understanding others and the techniques involved with that, integrity and moral purpose. So each of the chapters starts to engage us in an content that is very specific to the leadership model that we're going to be looking at in this course. And you would recognize that there are lots of different models, and we're going to balance the the exploring leadership text with the DAFT text. The DAFT is more business oriented, um, but we want to temper that with the exploring leadership, which is more socially oriented, especially for organizations that are more of a social organization rather than a business organization. There are big differences between the two. All right. But there's great overlap between the two. So you're going to find that we have a couple of chapters from the DAFT, and we're going to have it complemented by the chapters coming out of the Exploring Leadership text. So um, every assignment really kind of reflects some of the actions that's going on. Now, to help you with your self analysis, we have these questions from 1 to 6 here that if you write around them, and you could add things like your personality test, what that tells you, what your VARC test gave you, into the analysis of speaking to who you are as a person. Really, this is about your journey to who you are today. Now, for some people, the journey might be short. For others, it might be a fairly long journey because you've not necessarily lived longer, but you've experienced much, and those experiences reflect themselves in different ways. So you might have a short family history, but you might find you have a long discussion in terms of experiences and influences, and mentors and critical incidents. Those would take up a lot more time, depending upon your life. And there's no way for me to predict who's going to spend more time on what. So they have to be a little more loose with my marking technique. So that gives us a marking scheme here. So there's an introduction that I expect you should be writing, and then a conclusion, 5 marks apiece. And each of the question carries a bit of weighting in terms of marks. There are no word limits for this document. Okay. I expect that there should be no need for heavy citation because really you are writing about yourself. You're not going to be going to quoted sources of information for information. So you'd see there is no mark set aside for citation. However, if you do use, maybe you find a quotation that kind of reflects how you feel about things, or the kind of an analysis that you went through and that type of stuff. You find things like from the Bible, which a lot of people do, or some other religious texts, or other great thinkers that you find, books that you've read and so on, and you want to use a piece from it. That's fine. But if you do so, then please attach the appropriate citation necessary. I'm going to be evaluating your use of language, which will include looking at your grammar, punctuation, spelling, sentence construction. I don't expect that you all should have too much trouble with this, in that, um, you know, Word has its own grammar check system in it, so you can utilize that to help you with that. And then there's some marks here also for the way in which you organize the document. So again, you're submitting a document for assessment. So I expect that you use a clear font that is easy to read, that you use double line spacing simply because it makes it easier for me to be able to read it. I expect there to be a title page with the necessary title information, page numbers for a document with multiple pages, and if you exceed 4 pages, then you need to include a contents page, um, as per requirement from academic for all academic papers. So for most of you all who've done numerous papers and submitted into the organization, you should be familiar with how you need to organize your documents for submission for an assignment. And again, you can submit it as a PDF document, or you could submit it as a Word document. That way, I'll be able to open it and read it, and be able to mark you. So the self-analysis is something that you can start with. You could start by first, trying to write up your family basic history. Um, but I think it's not a document that you could sit and do in one sitting. This is a document that's going to take you some time to go through, because you really have to sit and think and reflect upon your life, and begin to organize it in a sort of analysis. Now, for those of you who have significant partners, this is a document that when you're finished writing it, it's one that I would encourage you to share with your significant other, and maybe even get your significant others to write up their own, because as you learn, again, this is more about you learning who you are. And as you become more, if you take the exercise seriously, if as you become more, as you gain more understanding of why you behave the way you do, it might be a good thing to share with those people who are close to you, and or if you feel safe enough to do this, of course. That way, they could understand you, and you'd understand things that you might want to change, or tweak in your own behaviors, and more importantly, understand why you behave the way you do, in terms of some of the things, because maybe you've not had time to go back and look at these things, and kind of reflect on them. If you've Is there anybody here who writes like uh, diaries and stuff? Yes, Kirschma. Every group has one chapter. Anybody here? Nobody here does. You can do a show of hands if you want, huh? Nobody here does. Wow, no doubt. I guess in the past it was something that we used to encourage, but journal writing and keeping diaries and stuff like that is not really something that has been encouraged much. But that's kind of like what you're going to be doing with this in terms of your self-assessment. Any questions on this assignment? But it seems to be okay with this.
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay, so let's look at the last assignment, which is another. This is a 15% assignment. This is Reflections and Leadership Action Plan. Now, The reality of this is that you really cannot write this until we finish the course, so, which is why it's kind of set up for the end. However, there is one question that you can respond to now, which so I would encourage you to look at this question. The question is: as you commence this course, reflect on what are your expectations of the course, your lecturer, and yourself. Now, it's related to the questions I had asked you at the beginning, about what you think you'd want to learn from the course or what your expectations are. So it's to kind of get that idea flowing. So I would recommend that you sit down sometime before the start of the next class and open a file or open a book and write down what your expectations are for the course, for your lecturer, and for yourself, and think about it before you write it and put it away, because the rest of the assignments here can only be completed when we have finished the course, which is at the end of the semester. So at the end of the course, reflect on how your expectations have been met or not met. Describe what you have learned about yourself during the semester in relation to your capacity to demonstrate leadership. Reflect on what you see as your leadership strengths and weaknesses and how you will take advantage of those in the future. Describe the leadership philosophy you have developed throughout the class. How, if anything, has it changed from the beginning of the semester? Identify your leadership style and describe 2 steps, action steps you can take to continue to develop your leadership style in the future. So again, the only way we can really deal with these questions here is actually only after we've finished the final activities of the class. That makes sense. And a similar marking scheme is set up. Of course, we expect an introduction and a conclusion, and then each of the questions is a sign of a weighting. And I'm going to tack on to that 20 marks for use of language and document organization. So, any questions on this? Yes?
No,
No?
No,
sir.
All right. Okay, so I hope you take my advice and set aside something and write up a response to this first question. Save it and put it aside. So if you create a file for assessment 5, reflection on leadership action plan, and write up your response. And it's best to do this before we actually start to deal with the content, because then what happens is your reflections would your expectations would be tainted by actually starting to do the course. So that it's kind of it's a catch-all kind of thing. You need to do this for the best results. You need to do it well before we actually start the content itself. All right. So that tells us. So those are all of the 5 assessments that you're doing, and you notice that there's no exam. All right. So, and I've also set the deadline for submission for the last 2 activities to the 30th of December. Now, the ideology behind the way I've set up these deadlines is to try and ease your stress levels, because in order for you to really participate in this class, you need to spend some time not under pressure, although a lot of students tend to work better under pressure, um, and reflect and write deeply reflective activities, to be able to engage with yourself, because this is a course that is going to ask, as one student identified, a lot of self-reflection, and self-reflection can be a challenge for a lot of us because maybe we don't like what we see. Um, but this is an opportunity for us to reflect, and if we see things we don't like, make some sort of effort to change it. So it's difficult in that sense. So it's challenging, not from from an informational point of view, but it's challenging in a lot of instances, from a very emotional point of view. So as I said before, so there's supposed to be, I hope, if you engage in the activities of this class, we're going to engage in a fair amount of um, self-analysis, self-exploration, and self-realization. So, good or bad, we'll see how that works out. Any questions thus far? Yes, no, maybe, no. All right,
So,
No.
all right. Go ahead, Karishma first, and then Tyrese. If you put your hands up, it will help.
So the assessment one, right, is a PowerPoint presentation. You have to create a PowerPoint.
Well, it's not only a PowerPoint. The PowerPoint is a tool that you would utilize to be able to present the work to the class. Remember, the emphasis of the presentation is to teach the content from the chapter to the class. So it's not just a presentation. So it can't only hinge on the PowerPoint. It is I'm going to assess your your presentation overall. And by the way, I'm going to be recording it. And that recording is going to be uploaded to the e-classroom into this section here. So if, let's say, somebody missed a presentation, they could always go back to the student chapter presentations and catch up on what they missed out the previous week. And it's going to stay there in the e-classroom until it's backed up and it comes down.
So
Yes.
basically, each student have to present a chapter, or
Not
each
each
week
student,
is
each group, each
each
student
group.
group. Yeah, because it's
Okay.
small group presentations. So because the class, according to my schedule here, the class is 30 students. Okay, and that means I'm going to be splitting the class into groups of 3 because there are 10 chapters for us to present. Right? So from
Mhm.
you have 10 presentations. So that means we have 10 groups of 3, which then, it's a nice even presentation sizes that I can use to develop. Yes,
Okay.
I see somebody. I keep on seeing somebody like they want to come in. Yes,
Thank you.
Dale, I see a hand up. Right, okay.
so we can pick our own group, like for the
In a little
chapter.
bit, I will give you a chance to, yes, select groups
Oh,
and select your own chapters, but that's gonna be
already.
when that
Okay.
comes up. Yes,
Yes, sir.
I'm
Okay.
gonna try to give you all as much freedom to correlate with each other and to choose which chapters you all want to do. But unfortunately, it's a kind of first come first serve stuff. So Tyrese, you had started to speak as well.
Well, the question was similar to hers. I was just going to ask, like,
When we're
when
gonna do that?
yeah,
All
picking,
right.
well, the
So
inputting group. So,
yeah, well, that's now actually we're gonna have to do it. But before we do that, I wanted to go through your animal selections. So I have to use a very general format for this. So let's kind of have a look at that and see what I'm talking about. So in terms of animal selections, the general differentiation that we look at first and foremost is how many people chose to be a predator as opposed to uh, a prey kind of situation. So I mean, some of my typing might cool. So where we have a dragon, a lion, those are predators, and therefore they want people to perceive them as such, that they are in charge, they are like alpha men or alpha women based upon their thinking. The lone wolf is a standout in that generally wolves kind of work in groups and teams, but I think Jabari wanted the idea of being a loner, which is why he kind of focused on that. The same thing applies to eagles and the raven because they are seen as what, two things. The eagles in particular are birds of prey, so they're predators, and um, they also have a lot of foresight because they have eagles can see really well from far away. So so those of you who are um, who chose the eagle specifically, you want to be both predator and have foresight. A raven, as opposed to that, which Nicholas chose, ravens are similar in that they have foresight, but they have another aspect in terms of being very from a mythical point of view, they have an association with um, sort of like a foreboding for things to come. So almost like a very mysterious feel to them, because ravens are highly intelligent birds, capable of tackling some very interesting, almost human-like qualities. They are known to speak as well, and they feature in a lot of mythology in which they engage with humans, but they're also known as being tricksters. So Nicholas has a very interesting choice there that we could look at. All right, so let's see. We have dogs, various. We have huskies, golden retrievers, and German shepherds. So those people who selected dogs, the main feature that we take out of dogs is loyalty and friendliness, and that's something that a lot of you would like us to perceive about you, that you're friendly and loyal, which is a kind of normal situation. All right, so the dragon and lions or the predators aside, we'll deal with that. Okay, so if we go back to, let's see, we have the panda. Well, we know about the panda. Tyrese got called out earlier o'clock with being, lazy and dependent on people.
Yes, sir. I take it as a compliment.
No, it's not a bad thing. It's just that, you get called out kind of quick with it.
Sir,
um,
I was not insulting him.
no, I know that. It's see again, in a psychology test, these selections kind of indicate something about your character. um, and that's the point that we really need to pull from it, which is the what he focused on was the easygoing life, the easygoing nature. So that's the thing about Tyrese. Tyrese probably wants us to see him as an easygoing person, not too driven, not too think. That could be furthest from the truth, huh? By I think it might be what he wants us to see, but it may not be who he is in that sense. Okay, I'm going to skip the B for now and go to the pretty birds. So we have Miss Bridgelal, and we had somebody else wanted to be a bird. No, the second person with the bird then made a choice. So pretty birds. Allison, um, all she was concerned about the color and the ability of the bird to fly. So that tends to be kind of synonymous, Allison, with people who are superficial, unfortunately, and concerned with how things look more so than the substance of things. But more importantly, the other thing is that they are able to fly away from things. So um, it's good and bad in the sense that you can run from things easily. But more important, another aspect or another way to look at it is that you also have the capacity to see things from a more macro view of how the world works, kind of situation. I hope I hope you're okay with that. All right, Allison. Pretty birds.
I'm
The
quite okay.
all right. The B that Chauvel took a while to choose is well, really, the B is somebody who's always busy, always at work, doesn't have time for anything but just getting the things that they need to see about done. Is that how you feel sometimes, Chauvel?
Yes.
Never so again, it kind of reveals a little bit about your own circumstances and situation, and that's probably the way you feel about your life around you, something like that. Okay, so Karishma chose to be a pigeon. Now it's interesting that she chose a pigeon, and I don't even think I spelled that word right. Um, a pigeon is actually a pest. Um, and I don't think you mean to do this, but pigeons are known to be like the rats of the sky. I don't know if you ever heard that connotation. Karishma? No, yeah.
No, I think you will have to change it. I don't want to be no pigeon.
Right. Well, this is again a lack of knowledge. But I think if you fall into the category of the birds, again, it's the ability to fly, which is attractive to you, to get away from things um, that create problems for you or create issues. That's probably the attraction for it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. But it gives you the option of having an aerial view of things, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Okay. So the next we have this monkey. That's Renissia. Um, Interestingly, monkeys speak to somebody who's playful and mischievous and a bit of a trickster. Is that you, Renessa? Miss Craig is here still?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, is it you?
Yeah, I
No?
would say so.
Okay, if you say so. All right, okay, cool. All right, so we dealt with the lion eagle, that's Jalissa. Um, the predator, and but she's combining that yeah, predator and they can see distances and see things from above. All right, and the name itself, the Leon. I mean, um, interesting. Hmm, kind of reminiscent of your name. All right, so Nilam saw the sea otter as a friendly friendly, go lucky, always enjoying life out in the sea. Also a land thing too. So yeah, that makes sense. Kind of friendly person, fun to be around, that type of stuff. Interesting. We have the butterflies. We have about three butterflies. Dwaraka, Hippolyte, and Miss Khan. Again, this is unfortunately this has to do with um, perceiving yourself to be light and friendly with people generally. Unfortunately, there's a dark side to butterflies. They die quickly. So your life is very fragile, or you may see yourself as being fragile and easily destroyed. There is the situation that the butterfly emerges out of the caterpillar, which is, moving from being the relative ugly duckling into the beautiful butterfly circumstance. So there's that element that could take us into looking at a deeper type of psychosis that you can identify with there. Rennie um, is seeing themselves as an octopus, and I think this has the appeal of being not necessarily a fish type activity, but the fact that they're underwater. Water tends to speak to when people look at animals under the sea, they seem to be in a more carefree environment, but octopuses tend to be kind of a strange fish kind of thing, not necessarily of the land, but primarily of the sea or of the water type situation. Something to be concerned about. The cat we have, that's the next thing. Shireen is correct in that cats are very different in the sense that the domesticated cats have kind of gotten their predator status removed from them, but they are very, what's the word I want to use? They are very, all right, a cat is not an easy animal to blend with. They're nice to look at. And they will let you play with them when they feel like it. So Shireen is coming across like somebody that you need to approach with some level of caution. Yes, she looks good to be around, but be wary because she has claws, and she would use them if necessary. Rio likes the night owl, and specifically night owl, and that has to do with the fact that Rio has um, probably operates more at night, and feels more alive. And this is something that we talk about with groups. Um, your energies are higher at night than they are during the day, and that's a kind of normal distinction that can happen. But the owl itself is also seen as a predator, more importantly, but more of a wise, um, omnipotent type of individual who has the ability to see all. Yet they see very well at night as well. So a perceiving type of individual. Um, the chameleon and the honey badger. I'll come back to Evie because the Evie is if what Lizanne um, Lizanne told me, the Evie is an animal capable of morphing into any form it needs. Is that correct, Miss Martin?
Well, it doesn't, depending on the environment that it's exposed to, it can
Yeah.
evolve, which is change into one that suits the environment.
Right, that's what I mean. So
But it
it
can't keep changing. It would just change
based
based on
upon the
that first
stimulus.
experience. Yeah.
Right. So that is the thing that you've chosen there is that you have chosen to tell us that you are a person who moves with the circumstance. You're evolving with the circumstance that you find yourselves in, so that you're a flexible individual. That's interesting. All right. Quite an interesting situation. The same can be said for Miss Otley, who's a chameleon, because the chameleon hides itself in any environment. Now, the difference between the EV and the chameleon is that the EV will stand out, whereas the chameleon will blend in. So, Anne Marie seems to be like what we would tend to call a more shy individual. Um, Maybe that could be true. Miss Otley?
Yes, sir.
Okay, interesting. Um, a honey badger, that's Oxley. Quite rightly, Daniel has that correct. The badger is a very fierce, predatorial, and territorial person. Um, they will lash out at people that invade their territory, and they will hurt people because they are very um, mean as well. Highly protective, and primarily highly protective, especially of the things that they love. That generally is going to be the family. The bunny rabbit, Rihanna Peters, a bunny rabbit. I think the idea is that the bunny rabbit. Now, the reality is that rabbits are very skittish. They're nervous animals. They are prey um, for lots of predators, and tend to be susceptible to a lot of people who can attack them. So that's kind of Rihanna. Are you positioning yourself there, or you just thought of it as, rabbits are funny, fun loving, so to speak.
Just
Yeah.
think bunnies are really cute, so I do know that they are quite deep prey because in PETA the logo for the bunny, the logo for PETA is the bunny because it's like one of the most abused animal.
Uh
But I
huh.
just think bunnies are cute, and also I like really feel sad about that fact. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, but what does it say about you? That's what we're looking at. Do you perceive yourself as prey?
No.
Um, well, this selection says so that you do perceive yourself as prey.
Hmm.
Interesting, Rihanna. All right. Okay, so that being done, did I cover everybody? I think. Did I leave anybody out? Jabari, I see your microphone's open.
Oh, my mistake.
That's okay, no worries. Um, what did you choose, Jabari?
Me,
The
I was the wolf,
the lone
but I
wolf. Right, right,
right, but
right.
if I want choosing the tall wolf because I actually do like, even though I like to be myself, I don't actually mind working in groups, you know.
Yeah, I'm not saying that you don't, you know.
Yeah,
I'm just saying that you want us to perceive you as somebody
oh,
who's an
yeah,
individual who stands alone, you know. You're a strong
yeah.
individual. Yeah, that's the thinking. Like Miss Martin, she wants us to think that she's the you know, unfortunately, there's a negative to that feature, by the way, which is you adapt to all circumstances, but you're trying to please everybody kind of situation, and that's a bit of the downside. Now, for every choice that you've made, there's a positive and negative, huh? That can be illustrated from the selection that you've made. And that will take a lot more analysis to be dealing with. All right, so that being done, now it's done as a kind of fun exercise. Hopefully, you've done it before. Um, Let us start looking at assigning people to their groups. So I'm going to bring this up. We're going to be using this document to collect the assignments. Now, just to give you an idea, I have to make it a little small because I need a couple of windows open to be able to grab the necessary information. Um, all right. So each chapter kind of breaks down, you know, what the chapter is about. All right, chapters. So each presentation is a different chapter. So when you're identifying which chapters you want to go to, please let me know by presentation number, not chapter number. Okay, so presentation 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 6, 7. Now I don't know. Have you all been communicating with each other in the group chat? No. Um, we'll see how that works out from there. Okay, so let's start to get together. Anybody has any choices that they want to get into? Have you thought about which chapter, content-wise, you would like to attach yourself? Remember, for now, it's going to be first come, first come, first come.
I don't mind doing presentation one or two.
I
Who's
can
this?
take
Chanel.
presentation
All right. So
too.
how I'll do this is put your hand up. So what happens is that your name will then move to the top of the list. Wow. Right. So Deo, were you the first person who spoke? Neelam?
Yeah, I wasn't the first person to speak just now.
All right. Who was the first person who spoke?
Me, Chanel,
Chanel what?
Samuel.
Samuel. And you said you're okay with either presentation 1 or 2, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. So I'm gonna put you as one member of the presentation of group 1, presentation 1. All right. So Neelan,
Yes, sir.
um, what group are you looking at? What presentation?
So I will go with teams,
Teams and
teams
groups.
and
So that's
groups.
presentation 4. All
Yeah.
right. Deal.
So I can pick my group members now.
No, you can't. Your members have to choose their own
Oh,
things.
okay.
You're you're not in the lead here, boss. Choose your members, man. Your members have to choose you. All right. So
Oh,
once I've assigned you to a
oh,
group,
yeah. Oh,
to
them get to pick.
sorry.
Oh, so like if them get to pick if they want to do that one, that
Well,
presentation.
if they want to work with you, fine. It's up to them.
Okay.
All
All
right.
right. Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So Daniel Oxley.
Yes, sir. I was looking at the presentation 6.
Being in communities.
Yes, sir.
All right, cool. No worries. Now remember, there's a maximum of 3 people per group. Okay. Neelam, you need to put your hand down as well
Oh,
as
sorry,
right.
sir.
That yeah, because then you're kind of occupying. Put your hand down. All right, Priya.
The presentation too.
2. Priya can. All right, copy presentation 2. All right, cool. All right. Denicia.
Presentation too as well, sir.
All right, so you want to work with Can. All right. Okay. Karishma.
Presentation too.
All right. Chat. Copy. Presentation 2.
Yeah.
All right. So that means. Hold on a second. All right. So that means that presentation 2 has enough people, so nobody else can volunteer for that. All right. Thank you very much, Karishma. Hands down now. Miss Hippolyte.
Presentation 3, sir.
All right. Integrity and moral purpose. Cool. All right. Karishma, put your hand down, please. Miss Martin.
Say presentation 3.
3. Okay. So alongside Miss Hippolyte. All right. Okay. Celine.
Presentation 5.
5. Courage and moral leadership. Okay, cool. No worries. Now remember there are 10 presentations, huh? So we have to spread out there. Right, Celine, that was good. Bridgenal. Miss Bridgenal. Allison.
Presentation 6.
6. Okay, that's with Mr. Oxley. All right. So of course that means you all need to reach out to each other to try and organize things. Okay, Christopher Aline. Or Aline.
Presentation 5.
5.
Yeah.
All right, with Celine. Courage and moral leadership. Okay. Allison and Christopher, you can put your hands on. Kelly.
Presentation 1.
Presentation 1 with Miss Samuel.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Good, good, good. All right. Miss Bridgelal, you wanted to change your mind or something? No? Okay. So I'm going to.
Oh, sir.
Yeah, I'm going. Yeah, lower your hand. Yeah, okay, cool.
I'll take it out.
You can't take it out? Okay, there you go. All right, so Nicholas Sukai.
Presentation 5, sir.
Presentation 5. Okay, so that closes off presentation 5. That's with Aline and Hanuman. Okay, cool. All right, Nicholas, thank you. Manek Chan.
Presentation 1, sir.
Presentation 1. So that closes off our first chapter 4. Very good. Thank you very much, Rio. Okay. Tyrese Bishop.
Presentation 4.
4 with Dale. Okay, good.
Sir, excuse, what are the
Yeah.
other presentations, 9 and 10?
7 is complex organizations. 8 is vision and strategic direction. 9 is power and influence, and 10 is leading change. These are coming out of the DAFT text. 8, 9, and 10 are from the DAFT. Cool. All right. So Anissa.
Sir, presentation 4.
Anissa M is man who. Okay. Presentation one, sorry.
4.
All right, so that closes off presentation 4. So you're working with Bishop and Dio. All right. So again, the WhatsApp chat group, you can reach out to each other and, sort of probably set up your own separate chat. That kind of stuff will work as well. All right. So Anissa, put your hand down. Prem Chan.
Sir,
Selena.
presentation 9.
Presentation 9. Power and influence. All right. Cool. Daniel Barcelo.
Number 3.
Presentation 3. All
Yes.
right, and that closes off 3. So you're working with Martin and oh crap, Martin and Hippolyte. So again, reach out to them and start. So presentations 1 to 5 are sorted. They're filled. Okay. All right, Daniel, you can put your hand down. Chevelle.
Presentation 9.
9. So you're joining Prem Chan. Okay, cool. De Leon. Jalissa.
Sir, presentation 9.
All right, so that closes off presentation, power and influence. Okay, Jabari.
Presentation 10. So.
10. Okay. Okay, so remember 7 and 8 are still open, huh? Dwarika.
So presentation 6.
All right, 6. You're closing off 6. All right. Okay. Anne-Marie Otley, I think it is.
7. Presentation 7, sir.
7. Cool. Smith.
I'll take 7.
All right, so with Miss Otley. Okay, Peters.
I will take presentation 8.
8. Okay. All right. So there have to be. All right. There's 26 people here. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's an easy way to do this. 1, 2, 3, 6, 3 is 18, 9, 20, 21, 25. All right. Somebody didn't.
Hello?
Yes. Yes.
Me. I didn't raise.
Who's me? Craig.
Vanessa.
Craig.
Vanessa.
All right. What chapter you wanna? What presentation you wanna go to?
Yeah.
So you have 7, 8.
Well, my screen kind of
10.
frozen, so I can't really see. But chapter 4.
Chapter what?
7 and 10.
All right. So you have presentation 7, which is
Which ones you say free? 7 and 10.
7, 8. Presentation 7, 8, and 10 are free. All right, so chapter 7, sorry, presentation 7 is chapter 8, complex organizations. Presentation 8 is vision and strategic direction. There's one person there. And presentation 10 is leading change. And there's one person there. Yes?
I'll go with 7.
And that means you're working with Otley and Smith. Okay? That closes off that chapter. All right. So we do have some absent people, but
What letter thing?
it's
Uh-huh. Okay.
So you gotta mute.
yeah, I did. I just
They
did.
go on?
Oh,
He was supposed to
God.
wait on me.
Yeah, he's
No.
not waiting on you anymore. All right. Okay, so in the chat, let me see. Somebody said Anne Marie 5 and Ronald Smith 5. Okay. Um, okay, so we do have some people who were here earlier who are not here now, and we need to sort out who that is. So give me a minute. Let me just, there's a technique I use here to kind of work that out a bit. All right, so let's see. Kelly is um, Kelly is one. Manik Chan. Oh, always have this problem. And Samuel.
So excuse, what I just drew
Sorry, what?
when the project drew the presentation.
Well, it's a schedule. So right next to it, there's the date that you're doing your presentation in red. On the did you download the this document?
Yeah, I'm seeing it.
Yeah, okay. So those are the proposed dates for your presentations. All
Okay.
right. Okay, so we have Priya Khan is 2, Jagannath 2, and Chattagoon. Then we have Hippolytus 3, Martin, and Barcelo. Then we have 4 is Deo, Bishop, and Manohar. Then 5 we have Hanuman, Alain, and Sukai. Then 6 we have Otley, no, Oxley, Bridgelal, and Dwarka. 6, 7, we have Otley. Okay, 7, Smith, and Craig. And 8 we have Peters. So far the only person. Then 9 we have Premchan and Blah and De Leon. And 10 we have one person. The Lone Wolf. Interesting. All right, Shireen was here earlier. Boy, it doesn't look like Shireen. Shireen Khan. She did speak to us earlier, but she seemed to have fallen off the e-classroom. I'm gonna put. So you guys can let her know. I'm gonna put her with Rihanna Peters. All right. So that's chapter. That's 8. Now Renee was also here, but I'm not seeing her. Renee. I'm going to put Renee with Mr. Nurse because I kind of want to balance off people who were here early. So she's in group 10. All right, and that means we have 2 absent people. that I want to split into the two groups. That makes sense? You know, I don't want to put everybody. So I'm gonna put Haynes with group 10. She wasn't here, so just in case things don't work out, because we still have a drop going on, so we'll see how that works out. And we have Neela Ramjatan. I will put her with Shireen Khan and Peters. Okay. And I think that's all 30 people. So this is 8. All right. So that looks about right. Save that. Okay, so what I will do now is, as I said before, we still have a little time because changes can be made in terms of people, adding and dropping to the class. We had 2 people who didn't make it today. So what I will do is, first and foremost, I will update the e-classroom with this new listing that we have. So you could delete the one you have and download this one. All right, so let me just turn on the edit feature here. You notice that it kind of changes dramatically a little bit here. And I will update this document here now with the changes that we've just made, so that you can get the newer copy from the all right, so we're going to Tuesday class, this assessment. All right, so it should update, right? So it's updated at this time. Nope, here we go. Right, it just updated here. All right, so that's good. So you have this thing here, and let's try something here. All right, bring this into here. Gonna try and put a copy of this into the e-classroom, so that you'll as a table kind of thing, so that you all can get it. Try that. See if it'll work. And put it into the e-classroom. Right, Tuesday. Let's see if I can post this here. That way you all can get this information and share it. So you get this image here, so that you should be able to see your assignments. People who may have joined the class late would also see the assignments, and you'll know what chapters and so on. Again, now this is not cast in stone yet, or concrete, as the case might be, because, as I said, we're still in the add drop period. We're still in the add drop period, and therefore there can be some changes. Okay, interesting. All right. Anybody has any questions they want to ask? No? Are you all still there?
Yes, sir. No.
All right.
No question, sir.
Okay, so I'm gonna end class around now, but I just want to ask if anybody has anything they wanted to ask, or um, if there were any questions that they had, concerns that they want to bring up. No? All right, so next week we will be, as the schedule indicates, I will be presenting chapter 1 and the preface and kind of starting up the chapter presentations with you guys. As I said, I'm going to do chapters 1 to 3, which is part 1 of the first exploring leadership text. It'd be nice if you can actually either go through the PowerPoint that I have on the e-classroom or read the textbook itself. So that way we could engage in a discussion rather than rather than you just listening to me. So we could engage in some discussion about it to be able to get your deeper understanding. Now, remember, next week we're going to be meeting from 5:30 because I'm going to change the meeting times for most of the evening classes to 5:30 because a lot of people are working and they need a little extra time to get home. Sometimes you might run a bit late. No. Um, Different courses call for different techniques. And if you miss a class, as long as you're not presenting, if you miss a class, it means that a notice comes up because you're looking for for yes. So all those dates that we have there, those are synchronous. Okay. Um, I don't really necessarily have recorded sessions because it doesn't lend itself to discussion. But in different, and like in my econ classes, there's a different technique that I utilize. I use non-synchronous presentations there. So this one is more hands-on because we require to engage in discussion with each other. So those schedules are important, and for remember the presentations don't go on forever. We have a couple of weeks in between the presentations and the debate exercise. Just a couple of weeks there because we are going to be prepping the class there. But as I said before, if you miss a session, the recording for the class will be placed on the e-classroom so that if you can't be obviously you have to be here for your own teaching presentation because remember I'm marking those things live as well, so we'll see how that works out. So I hope I'll see all as many of you all as possible next week, but again that session will be recorded and will be put up onto the e-classroom. Speaking of which, I should probably stop the recording now. All right.